नमस्कार दर्शकों, मैं हूं विभूति झा। आपका स्वागत है हमारे सनातन वर्ल्ड के अगले कड़ी में जो मैं आपसे बातें करना चाहता हूं। एंड द वन थिंग व्हिच आई वांटेड टू ऐड that this particular program will be in English and Hindi both, depending on the time and depending on the subject matter. Today, I wanted to share with you something very important. I have been appointed and I have accepted that suggestion to become the North America outreach for Punah Sanskar Foundation's Gauvansh Akhada, protection of the cow, and creating that narrative going forward. This is something very different for me. I'm very delighted with this challenge because it took me back when this my friend Mayank ji, Colonel Mayank ji asked me, would you like to take this responsibility? And I happily said yes. Because there was a very important narrative that is important. We are often accused of varieties of things, and that is because people do not know our way of life. That's very important to understand. People do not have any clue to our way of life because we haven't told them who we are. The narrative building about our way of life, Sanatan, and everything else is unknown to the world. And it is our responsibility, yours and mine, to take that message forward. When this particular conversation was happening, I was delighted to take that responsibility. You know the reason why? It took me back to exactly about 5 years ago. 5 years ago, I was in a conversation with a very important American who, with all goodness in him, he asked me this question after the work was over. We were sitting on a dinner table, and he asked me, can I ask you a tough question about your belief and religion? I said, sure. And he said, why do you guys worship cow? And I thought that instead of giving him answer or a response based on our systematic ways of doing it, it's very important in communication to understand that the message has to be conveyed to those people in the language that they understand. This was my entire approach to that. In a flash, that message came in my mind, and I said, okay. So, first of all, I told him that in your Christian belief, you emphasize a lot on a beautiful word called gratitude. Be grateful. You often say that. Be grateful for what you have because God-given world is for everybody. So you use the word gratitude very seriously. And I say, I accept that because that's the way we express our gratitude to God, who is the same for all of us, same one God that created you and I and every life forces on the planet Earth. I said, we express our gratitude to God whom nobody has seen. Nobody has seen. Maybe there has been a little anubhuti about God, but nobody has seen God. So, same God we have not seen. So, we express our gratitude to God by acknowledging for giving us an animal that is called cow, whose relevance in our lives is very significant. And I said that we call her Gau Mata. Why do we call her a mother? We call her a mother because we give her the swaroop, the form and respect of a mother, primarily because not all mothers lactated enough for their infant baby. Remember that. Not all mothers lactate enough. Some lactate more, some less, some none at all. In those situations in the village economy, the cow's milk was the most suitable, second best for a human infant after mother's milk. And it was not about one child, it was about the village, the community. The word we use is samuday, pure samaj ke liye. So the important part was the cow thus assumed a surrogate mother's role in our lives. And that was very critical. You don't throw your mother out of the house because she has stopped giving milk or she is no longer useful in any language that you think of. That gentleman was said, "Oh my God, I did not know about it." Then I added the second one. I said, it's not the only reason. There's a second reason. Cow gives milk only when she delivers a baby, right? It's a she or a he. If it's a she is going to become a cow again. And if it is a he goes into the farm, does tilling, does agriculturally, he gets involved in the agriculture production, as a result of which food grain comes home, food grain is sold, food grain is consumed, and there is a creation of wealth. I did not use the word Mahalakshmi or Lakshmi, Kaswarup. I said it becomes an instrument of economic welfare. So, cow from a mother also becomes an instrument of economic welfare. Would you kill the cow to eat its meat primarily and denying human infants their nutrition, their life sustaining force, and agriculture production because the beef is very tasty? Then I didn't stop. I gave the third reason. And I said, you people may not have perhaps known about it, but I have lived in Indian villages in my home state of Bihar. And I have known one thing for sure: cow dung doesn't have a foul odor to it. This is very important. Cow dung doesn't have a foul odor to it. All right. And the cow dung is a biodegradable, eco friendly item because it's used for steadying the village hut or putting the paste of the cow dung around the house in the evenings. You light fire to it, in a pot, and mosquitoes and insects don't come. You purify the place. It doesn't have a foul odor to it. It's a biodegradable, eco-friendly item. And you won't believe it. I told him that my mother used to, and then my family used to cook food on the fuel that cow dung was enabler for. This is important. And then the fourth thing I added, I said, even in her death, the cow hide is useful for varieties of things. And he then said, holy cow. I said, exactly what we call the holy cow. So it is not about worshiping. Worshiping is a gesture, but the respect that the cow gets in our communities is for this reason alone. And do you remember something? I told him the Western businesses have a concept of cash cow, right? What kind of business is a cash cow? Because right from the inception to as long as that business is running, it generates cash flow for you. That's why in the Western world, you define a business as a cash cow that gives you cash right from the moment. And many people do cash businesses, right? So would you destroy a cash business? Would you destroy the cash cow for your interim or immediate gain? And that guy was very happy. And I must give him credit for that. He appreciated that. And he said, nobody has ever told us about this. I said, that's our failing because we have not communicated to you the message of how significant a cow is for us. It's a mother, it's an instrument of wealth, it's an eco-friendly item, it has useful even in her death, and that's what you call cash cow. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the message which I wanted to share with you today. And I also added that in Hindu philosophy, there is no prohibition or a mandate that you can't eat whatever you want. This is very important from their perspective, those people who do not understand this. I said, we in India are very fortunate to be born and living in a tropical climate. We do not necessarily have to kill an animal to eat because we have so much vegetation available that food grain is not a problem. Eating habits are different because we have all the year round vegetables, seasonal and regular. So as a result of which we do not have to be hunting to kill an animal to eat unless otherwise. But also very important to understand that in our dharma, it is very important to understand this. In our dharma, Eating is a function of choice and a decision, and we decide what we eat, not driven by circumstantial evidences. And what I mean by circumstantial evidences is the fact that in a desert climate, in a desert climate where you have no vegetation, you don't have food, grains, and fruits, and flowers, and everything is growing. You eat whatever is available, and that is in the nature of an animal. In the Western countries, in the cold weather, you do not have, and imagine those times when there were no heating systems and no artificial methods available to conserve food and save for future. People used to eat whatever was available. So animal eating became part of your living exercise. For us, because we were born in a tropical climate, we did not have to hunt to kill an animal to eat and survive. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is my experience. And I wanted to share that with you, considering I took that responsibility only today. This was announced by the Gauvansh Akhada. So I'm delighted that this particular conversation is happening. And I wanted you to take this message forward. I remember one thing very clearly, that once, several years ago, in a very prominent Jaipur dialogue event, I had narrated this part uh, when there was a conversation going on. And I was so impressed that several people wrote back in their comments that we never thought about this interpretation of cow, beef, and cash cow that you have said. And that's what I'm sharing with you today. So, as I always say, please like, subscribe, or support our channel. This channel, particularly, which I have started only recently, the Sanatan World, because I, in my heart, believe that this century belongs to the Sanatan world. It's for you and I to take that message forward. Now, remember, one more appeal I will make to you is that, I need your support any which way you can, by liking, subscribing, and supporting any which way you can. And your support is critical. As you support me, I can carry the message forward. Please look up other messages that I have posted here from time to time, but I'm going to be far more regular now onwards on this message, because there is a lot of things happening here. Tomorrow, another day. My favorite thing, Satyameva Jayate. And for that, we have to fight for it. Thank you. Namaskar.